Hey guys, welcome to Hallowed Groundling. It's great to see you, sort of. This is the second video podcast that I've done on Zoom. The first one we did was with Danny to talk about vampire films, and that was a lot of fun. And tonight we have a really fun one. I'm very excited for this one. I have two of my very good friends that are going to join me in the room, and we're going to be talking about and watching the movie Hereditary. And so I will let them into the room, and we can talk a little bit about what we're going to discuss tonight. So here we are. Hi. How's it going? How you doing?
Getting nervous. Not gonna lie.
Are you nervous?
I'm nervous. He sat me next to the doorway. Something's gonna get me.
Well, of course, yeah. He's smart. He's just setting you up that way. I love that we all changed it into black. Did you know? Like we all changed it into black. Like we know it's just like. But I am wearing. Look, it's Wolf Cop. Wolf Cop. This was my my birthday presents from them. Was the Wolf Cop T-shirt, which we love. Wolf Cop. We adore Wolf Cop. So I did the introduction. I kind of talked about that we were going to watch Hereditary tonight, but I waited to have you guys in the room to talk a little bit about it. So as a little intro, Hereditary came out in 2018. It was written and directed by Ari Aster. I think I said that right. Ari Aster. I'm not sure if it's Ari Aster or Ari Aster, whatever. So it's Toni Collette and Millie Shapiro, Gabriel Byrne, and Alex Wolff are the family, basically. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about with you guys. So let's start out first. What were your impressions when you first saw the trailer? Like when you saw the trailer on TV, remember, like, I want to like talk about like, what did you feel the first time you saw the trailer?
Yeah, I didn't think it was gonna be good. One of those like, I'm gonna have to sit there and try to understand everything, and I'm going to lose interest very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think I even remember the trailer besides the mouth click.
Yeah.
And I think even in that, I remember thinking, is this just like going to be an annoying thing? Are we seeing the scariest parts of this movie? Mostly was other people not knowing anything about it is what I remember.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Didn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I should say this first too, actually, before we even go into that. I wanted to say that we've known each other a very long time, and we love going to see horror movies together before COVID and watching horror movies together. So we've seen a lot together, good and bad. We should tell everybody that. We've seen some really good ones and some really bad ones. And this one stands out. I think that's the reason that we wanted to kind of do it, because wouldn't you agree that this one really stands out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like hit you in the face, stand out.
Yeah. So I kind of felt the same when I saw the trailer. I didn't know what to make of it. I think all three of us kind of went into it like we didn't know if it'd be good. We were like, we're not sure, because we've gone into movies thinking they're going to be good and then they suck, or we've gone into them thinking they're going to be bad and then they're good. So we've been surprised a number of times, like where we, and I think all three of us kind of went into it like I think we looked at each other. If I remember, probably we're like, I don't know what this is going to be. I'm not sure what this movie's going to be.
At least know, like, what it's about. All right, whatever. But I feel like we didn't know anything. It was like one of those weird Twilight Zone things where like, do you know about this movie? No. You want to see it? All right. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it definitely was like that. It definitely felt like we went in very blind. Very, very, very blind. Yeah, exactly. So then I want to talk about like after we saw it, like how did you feel after we saw it? Like when we left the theater, I know, but I want to talk about in here. Like what were your feelings when you left the theater?
I can honestly say, without a shadow of a doubt, that it is the strongest feeling I've ever had coming out of a horror movie.
Mm.
In the sense that I didn't even know what to say. I really was speechless. Like, it hit me in such an odd way. I had never had that feeling before.
Yeah. I know.
We tomorrow we're going to talk about it, and you put it on, and we're like, all right, well, let's just discuss, and we all just sat there. We're like, I don't know what to say. Like, I don't know what.
Yeah. This is kind of like we're giving ourselves a long time of perspective now because we saw it like almost 2 years ago. So it's like this is it's been a very long time, but we really didn't. We had no idea what to. I remember sitting in the car and I'm like, I don't know what just happened to me. I'm not sure.
Like,
what happened? What was this about? Because it was like I wanted that initial reaction, but I didn't even have an initial reaction. I felt very like unsure of what I'd seen, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys think like see this too, but I find with this movie, there's a very visceral reaction. Either people really love this movie or they really don't like this movie. I've heard many people who hate this movie, who hate it, who thought it was horrible, thought it was just cheesy and you know, not, and I was like, it was not my impression. I don't know if I love it, but I know that there's something so interesting about it. Just like Midsommar, you know, for those of you who don't know, you know, Ari Aster wrote and directed Midsommar too. I don't feel the same way about Midsommar as I did about this one.
Yeah.
But I couldn't look away from it. I definitely couldn't look away from Midsommar either. I had that same reaction, like, what's happening? Like, what? The payoff I didn't feel was as good as it was in Hereditary.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't feel like the payoff at the end was quite as good. So we are going to watch it tonight. And for those of you who have never seen Hereditary, we are going to be pausing it and talking about it. We're not showing the movie, obviously, in the podcast because I don't want to get sued. I'm just not interested in being sued or getting talked to about copyright infringement. I'm all set with that. So we're going to kind of pause and we're going to talk about the scene we just saw. So it's better for people who have seen it already. Obviously, you don't want to listen to this if you've never seen Hereditary. So I think we're about ready. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Laura and Alex are two of my dearest friends, and what's that?
You're putting us through this.
I am putting you through this. I am. I'm very interested to see what happens. I'm just very interested to see how we feel during it. So we'll see. All right, let's do this. Okay.
Right.
Hold on. The ride is starting. All right. So, like, oh, okay. Just for the first, like, what we saw so far, just because that's a pretty pivotal moment in the movie. So let's start with the fun facts. Let's start with that first. I'm feeling anxiety watching this again. I am. This movie makes me anxious. It just
need to spray the spray.
we need to sage. We need to burn a lot of sage. Okay, so it was shot in Utah. It took 32 days to shoot. It was filmed on a soundstage. The whole house was built on a soundstage, and they had to do that because they had to take out walls in order to make an exact copy of the miniature. So that's pretty neat. And all of the effects were done that could be done in camera, which I think is awesome. I mean, effects aren't done in camera anymore. Almost everything is CGI. So it's pretty neat that it was all done. What's that? Yeah, it's like, it's crazy. So that's pretty exciting. All right, so let's unpack some things. The necklace. I love that, like, the mom has the necklace. Toni Collette has the necklace. It just kind of makes you even more wonder, like, how much she actually knew, how much Toni Collette knew, about everything, how much she was hiding. Mm-hmm. The more I think about it, I think, like, she was hiding more. I think she knew a little bit more than she thought she did,
Yeah.
The nut allergy makes me uncomfortable because of you, Alex.
I didn't realize that it came up that early.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I think when we were in the theater, you had both looked at me. Because like anytime a nut, when has a nut allergy come up in a movie that was
I know.
actually
Yeah, full disclosure, Alex has a very bad nut allergy, so we were like, there's a nut allergy.
I think at the time I was like, that's a weird mention.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very, I know, it was very weird. And I mean, right away, like they set a tone very quickly in this movie, of silence and of, it's just such an eerie tone. Like you just feel something bad coming the entire time you're watching it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
The score makes such tension. You're like, oh God, from the second that it opens up.
Oh yeah. The score is a definite character. As all good, scary movies are. Actually they don't he doesn't view this as a horror movie. He views this as like a family drama. And I'm like, I don't agree with you about that. It's like, this is pretty terrifying. This is pretty terrifying. I'm just saying. So, and then of course the smiling guy in the funeral parlor.
I don't think I noticed the first time.
No, you did not notice that. I remember like Laura and I knew that. We remembered that because we remembered him. He stands out at the funeral. Because he smiles at her so weirdly, like it's just this creepy kind of. So you remember him, So when he showed up, well, I'm not going to jump ahead too far, but when he shows up later, it's like, there's the guy again. All right. Any thoughts? Any feelings? Anything you want to talk about?
No, the pull into Peter's room though, at the beginning there.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. You can't tell where. That's what the movie kind of does too. You don't really know where you are or what you're looking at for a bit, and the score is kind of grating in the back of your head. So I'm interested to see how that. I know it continues to get progressively worse, but
I mean that first image is you're right, is so beautiful. Like the way it pulls in and it just like completely pulls you in from the moment it starts. It's like it's crazy. I mean it's just nuts. Okay, so we're gonna watch some more. And do some more fun facts in a little bit.
let's do it.
All right, let's do this again. Okay. I have anxiety so bad. Like, not bad anxiety, just that, like, even though I know what's coming, I still remember it. I still remember the movie because there's parts of it that are emblazoned. Yep, emblazoned on my brain forever, but yeah, I'm still like, okay. So the first thing I want to talk about is Millie Shapiro. She is just phenomenal. That kid's amazing. She's really, really wonderful. Like I forgot how great she is in the movie as Charlie. She came off of Matilda. She was Matilda on Broadway before she did this, actually. So she came out from Matilda. And I also want to talk about Toni Collette, who I worship and adore, and she's just amazing. And the more I watch it again, I'm like, oh my God, she's so good. And apparently she didn't want to do any more scary movies. Like after she had done The Sixth Sense, she didn't want to do anything. She wanted to just do funny, like comedies. But then she read this script and loved it so much that she agreed to do it.
Yeah.
She knew it was a really great part, and she knew it was a really good movie. So, so they're kind of lucky that they got her to do that. How are your thoughts? How are your feelings right now? And then I'll go into other stuff, but I want to check in and see how everybody's doing.
Not emotionally okay, but I think why it's so scary is because the relationships are so true. Like, her asking about death, like that's a very natural thing for a child to do, like not understand the concept or have questions or like, all right, well, you're going to leave too. And like, I think it's just really beautiful the way they interact. And that's what makes it so scary because you're like, this is totally normal. All of this is totally normal. And then a kid's cutting off a pigeon's head and it's like not normal.
Yep, exactly. Apparently he wrote a ton of backstory. Before he even wrote the script, he wrote a ton of backstory for everybody. So everybody's complete and total background was like laid in stone, basically. before he wrote the script, you know.
Yeah, and you can tell just even the set, the way that it's dressed, it's so complete. Nothing seems forced. It seems it's almost funny, and now I'm noticing it that we're watching it back now, and I'm not like wondering what's going on. And you know, you have that little thing in your back of your brain where you're like, oh, I know where this is going. It's one of those things where I think we talked about this the other day. There are some, so we go to see horror movies mostly because we love it and it's fun. This turned out not to be one of those times. But it
really wasn't fun. Oh, because we were so disturbed and we didn't know.
Yeah.
And usually we're chatting it up, like after we leave, we're like, oh, that sucked. That was so bad. Oh my God. Or that was so great. Oh my God. This was so cool. Oh my God. But this movie, we couldn't even articulate.
We were ill-prepared. We were very ill-prepared.
Very unprepared.
Yeah.
I know.
We were saying the other day that it's like the horror movies that you consider to be bad, a lot of times the characters have to be written dumb in order for something to be scary. And that happens, this never happens in that movie.
No.
Everyone has logic and they're using psychology and
Yeah. He wanted, apparently, when I was doing more research, he wanted all of the scares to be emotionally justified. He doesn't want any jump scares. Like, he wants every single one to mean something, you know? And as you watch it more and more, you see how deliberate everything is and how these little things that stand, like, I don't know why, like, what really just got me was when Gabriel Byrne, when they came in the house and he told everybody to take their shoes off.
Yep.
And I'm like, y'all have lived there a long, like, is this something Dad has to tell you every time? Like, I just was like, it showed that kind of controlling part of it, that kind of, you're just like all these weird relationship things that happen within there. You know what I mean? It's just, it was very fun. It's so layered. As I'm watching it again, I'm like, oh man, I'm really paying attention to stuff. I'm like, this is really a layered film.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think what gets you too a lot of times, and the reason that it's so scary, particularly with this film, I don't think I've felt it with another one, is that it's so grounded. It lulls you into feeling like it's mundane, and then it tricks you by something else being in there, and that's really, it's like unnerving the whole time.
Oh yeah, oh definitely. So another cool thing about the miniatures were actually made, like, they were literally making them in unison as they changed things on the set. So like the production designer and the miniaturist had to like be hand in hand the entire time, which I thought was pretty cool.
Very cool.
Whenever they go back. So a couple of things that I wanted to talk about. We talked about them. The notes on spiritualism part where she reads the note.
Yeah.
That was I remembered that note very clearly too. I was like, oh boy. Yep. And I have to ask the big question. Alex, did you see her when the lights went out this time?
Yes.
I grabbed him and I was like,
Yeah.
Yeah. So when we originally saw it, I didn't see her.
I know.
And I'm not. What's funny about this movie is I think I'm paying a lot of attention to their relationships and the emotional undertones that are going on, and you almost like miss the certain things. So it's really like that note. I didn't remember that note or what that note said, but now that I read that note, oh man. I
know. Well, it was funny because something that was so funny because we were so disturbed at the end of the movie, and Laura and I, you and I had the same kind of, we saw everything, and you didn't, Alex, which really unnerved me. I remember I kept asking you saw that, right? Like, I'm not crazy. Like, I started thinking I'm nuts. Like, I'm like, did I make something up in my head? Because I was so wigged out at that point that I needed that. Thank God you were giving me the reassurance, because I think I'd feel better if I hadn't seen something and you guys saw it than if I saw it and you didn't see it, you know? Like,
yeah, and you know what's funny about that is usually when we go to see movies, it's usually me in the middle and it's two of you on the outside.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
we're protecting you from the monster. We're always protecting you.
And what's funny is Annie's character in the beginning, seeing the mom and then going to do the research online about is the experience we all had, because the two of you are seeing things that I didn't see. And I think a lot of it is like you're paying attention to something else that's mundane in your own life, and you feel like you see something out of the corner of your eye, and you're like, did I see something or not?
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of it's like that.
Oh yeah. And I think that's what he kind of set up for all of us in that, that was definitely something he set up. So it's so creepy that I actually, that still, I've told you guys this, that still wigs me out, her in the corner when she turns the light off, because I still think of it sometimes when I walk by a room in my house and the lights are off, but the ambient light is from the hall. It will sometimes just go boom in my, like at like 1 o'clock in the morning, I'll get to go pee and I'll walk by my library room and I'm just like, don't think that, don't look in there. Nope. Because if there's a smiling old grandma in there, I'm going to scream my fucking head off. So,
listen, I love my grandma, but if I saw her in my room, I'd be like, we're out, we're moving, I'm done.
We're leaving, goodbye. So then, like, all right, so let's talk a little bit too about the miniature. So she turns around after she turns the light on and she looks at the miniature, and the miniature is of grandma with her breast out to feed the baby. All right. So we didn't talk about this before, I don't think. I don't know if we did, but like, how does a grandma breastfeed? That's just one thing I wanted. I was a little like, is that all set with the, the cults? Is that something that was like, I guess it is, but that leads back to me about like, how much did Annie know? Toni Collette's character, how much does she know? Because I'm like, wouldn't you be like, you're still lactating?
Like, who's drinking this milk? Are you pumping? But what's going on here? How is this happening?
Yeah, you must have gone through menopause. Like, I don't know. It was just very, or maybe she was showing her how, like insisting. I don't know. I have so many questions. That's a question I'd ask Ari Aster. I would definitely ask him. I'd be like, is grandma lactating still? Because how does that work?
Yeah, you know what's funny about that too, and I didn't notice it, is I guess because we've already been through it, we're seeing things on the back end.
Mm-hmm.
But when she flipped that miniature around, I was just instantly sick because a couple things came up. One was her in the casket with the friend with the essential oils, or whatever that was.
On the lips.
And then two was Annie sitting down and saying, she loved you the most. It was like, what was happening in that house, And,
oh yeah.
And like you said, how much did Annie know? How much did she?
Oh yeah. I mean, that little moment between Gabriel Byrne and between Peter and Stephen, like his father, when he turns and he says, are you okay? Like, are you sad? And he goes, I'm like, your grandma just died, but whatever. I'm like, yeah, that's a little like that moment is it's very telling on how they all felt about her, I love it. It's so true. It's like all those relationships are so layered, and you notice more when you aren't like looking out for the next thing that's going to happen and scare wise, or being so wigged out you don't know what you're talking about. So now you can kind of sit back, but still it still makes me a little, this movie, even though I know what's happening. So then the bird, obviously the bird is like, that's just so disturbing. I mean, I assume she made that happen. I've always assumed that, and she cuts the bird's head off, but yeah.
Yeah, and the woman across the
street
there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was pretty much in the same direction as the bird too. So you're like, what's happening? What's going on?
Oh yeah, it's all set up when you read it, more and more. You're like, oh my goodness. So two more things, and then we'll start back up again. Why does he lie about the cemetery? That like makes me go like,
yeah,
why does he lie to her? There's a lot of lies. There's a lot of weirdness in that family. There's a lot of
yeah. And it's almost like you don't know how to treat things when you get the information with this film. You're like, is this something odd, or is this like, does he know how she would react? Does she react well? Later on we should see how she reacts to certain things. But it's like,
not well.
Yeah, exactly. Does he do it because of that condition, or is he doing it for another reason? You don't know.
I don't know. I was like, I wrote that down. I went, cemetery, lies. I put lies. So I was like, because I forgot about that. I forgot that he lied about the cemetery. Yeah, it's very interesting. So another little tidbit, when Peter's in class and behind the teacher on the chalkboard, it says escaping fate at the very top of it. And that is a little homage to Halloween. the original Halloween, because when Laurie Strode is in class, they're talking about fate in the scene when she sees Michael outside the window and everything. That's a little moment to Halloween from Ari Aster to John Carpenter. So I thought that was kind of neat. I liked that little tidbit. All right, we ready?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. All right, let's do this. Let's go back into the void, friends.
Yeah.
Oh, why did we do this? It's just, oh my God. It's so
downhill from here. It doesn't get better, like being less intense or less emotional. It just gets worse.
It just gets worse and worse and worse from the moment I jotted down almost a whole page of notes because I was like thinking all these things during it. Oh man. I'm seeing more and more. When you see it with eyes where you've seen it before, now you can kind of see things, and I'm asking a lot more questions, and I want to know what you guys thought about them. So she's at the grief recovery. That's where we came back. And she mentioned that her mom had DID. I'm going to go to you, Laura, with the psychology brain. What is DID? Oh, you don't know? Okay. No, it must be some kind of dementia.
Disorder?
Yeah. Like dementia disorder, or?
But I thought the same thing. I was like, I don't know what that is.
Oh, okay. All right. I was wondering if you knew what that was. So, I mean, she talks very quickly in this stream of consciousness type way at the grief recovery about her family. And she said she drops a lot of exposition, a lot in that moment, about that the father has psychotic depression and that her brother committed suicide, and that he'd written the note. He was 16, right? And he'd written the note that she was putting people inside of him. So that says a lot. That I wrote bag of crazy. So no, I was saying that like when he was smoking weed in the house, I was like, I would smoke weed in that house too. If I had to live in that house, I'd smoke weed. I would most definitely smoke weed. I was like, yeah, no, I would. The other thing, I didn't notice this when we saw it. Did you guys notice that the person breathing outside the window?
I did, and you didn't notice that this time.
No, and he said it to me, and I was like, what?
That was so, I didn't see that the first time we saw it. I definitely did not see that. It was like, so it's when Peter's sitting in the window and he's blowing his smoke out the window, you see breath, like from the angle of so the camera's here, and it would be someone like sitting right here. And like you see breath. And I'm like, is it Charlie or is it a cult person I want to think it's a cult person just sitting out the woods being all creep, like watching him, because he's supposed to be the whatever, but we're not going to say that yet. So yeah, I know, it's so weird. So a couple things. The light going across the room, I love that little touch that they did. Did I lose you again? No. Oh crap. Do I have you? I hate the internet. I hate it. Okay. That's the fun part about doing something like this. No, the light going across the room. I love that. I think it's like the cool, like when the light travels across the room. Yeah, I love that. It's fantastic. And then the other thing I would say was why did she make him take his sister? Why do you guys think that? Like,
yeah, it's one of those weird things. Like at first, we first saw her, I was like, oh, she must be afraid to get a drink or whatever. Like, you have to take your sister. But now that we're seeing it, I'm like, does she know? Is she like setting? Like she knew what had to happen, but she was like not emotionally prepared for it, but knew it had to happen. Like, I don't know.
I feel like the note. I'm keep going back to the note because I didn't take it with me the whole film last time.
Yeah.
And she said, like, you're not going to understand my plan, certain things that you've lost. Forgive me for that. It seems like the grandmother, more than anything else, is putting things into play. Even with the cake, I felt that. at this
Yeah.
point.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, you want to hear something weird that I noticed this time that I didn't notice before either, and this was like really really strange. So well I'll go with so like I asked the same question. I said, is she asking him to take her because he wants doesn't want her to, excuse me, she doesn't want him to drink, you know,
Right.
the same reasons you said. But then, you know, you see the sign on the pole, you know, you see, is it a dead deer or a dead goat? I can't tell in the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at baby deer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's definitely something dead in the road. Um, I want to touch like I want to go in order basically. So, you know, and then the horrible moment when he hits the pole, she hits the pole. And that is such he trusted silence for so long in that scene of nothing happening, absolutely nothing happening except that kid coming to terms with what he did. Um, but there's a few things I noticed this time. So he sits there. It's like that's what makes it disconnect for that as me as an audience member. I don't know how you guys feel. I want to hear how you feel, but it leads to a disconnect where you think, is this a dream? Like I really thought it was a dream. I thought this isn't real. Like they're not going to kill this kid in the middle of the movie. I really did because of how long it took to react. Like there was no reaction. He just didn't react. He just sat there. And I was like, he's in shock. He must be in shock. But then I'm like, is he in shock? Like what's and if you noticed, this was just so weird. He sits there and then all of a sudden he says, okay. And he goes. That's when he starts driving. Is he said okay. And I didn't notice that last time. And I was like, why did he say okay? You know, like why does he say okay? I'm like, is he talking to is someone talking to him? Is he listening to someone and that's why he's so quiet? I'm like, there's all these things now that are going through my mind. I don't know if you guys noticed though, when he get back to the house and he got in the house, you could hear the parents. You could hear Annie and Steven, and they both said, good. They went good, good.
I didn't notice.
Yeah, they
yeah.
both went. They both said good. They both said some. It was something like that. They were like something was behind the door, and like they said something like I think they knew he. I don't know. The more I watch it now, the way she like the next morning when she says, you know, I'm going to get balsa wood. It just sounds so set up now.
Yeah.
Like it's all like a big setup. Like they knew what was gonna happen. Like it's like, did they like? Is it set into motion and they're kind of accepting of what's happening? I mean, I know she freaks out obviously, but it's so her grief is so over the top for her, and I think it's almost like it feels so set up now. Not that she's faking. I don't think she's faking that, but I think she's a puppet.
Yeah.
She's a, you know, she's a doll, like the miniature. I think that's supposed to be what it is. Like she's being moved around. Am I reading too much into
Yeah, moves through her own life almost.
Yeah, yeah. Like the more I'm noticing, I'm like, oh, you can feel it. You can feel it's this almost feels to me like the second time I watched The Sixth Sense, like where I noticed all those
You knew
things.
everything.
Yeah, you noticed all those little things in The Sixth Sense that you didn't notice the first time because you were too busy getting caught up in the story, and you see all these little things, and you're like, oh yeah, like you know, like this was happening here, and that's why this, you know, and it was things I was like, oh, that's so obvious, but then when you know, because you weren't watching it the first time you're watching it, just kind of caught up in the story and watching the characters. But yeah, I'm noticing all these little things. So like, how did you guys feel about like all those sections and like like watching it again? I know it's awful.
Time. I was like, I still didn't. We're just on him. I think it's brilliant, and I feel like I literally just stopped breathing, watching him. I'm like the whole time. But before that, like at the party, you know what's gonna happen. So you're like, oh God, like I can't.
Mm.
That knife's gonna be on that cake. Those walnuts. Also, who puts walnuts and cuts walnuts at a party, a house party at that age? What is happening? Stop it.
I don't know. I was like, why are you cutting walnut? Is that set up too?
Right.
Is that all? Is that all priest? Yeah. Now I'm watching it. Like, yeah, honestly, like who cuts walnuts up like that at a party? You know, nobody. You know, and especially a teenage party. They're not eating even if they were making brownies, they're not going to put walnuts in them. They're not going to take the time to do that. They're just going to eat the batter, for Christ's sake.
It's also like, okay, why, if you know she has such a strong nut allergy, why would he say, yeah, go have cake, whatever? And she says it or something, like, there's nuts over there. He's like, yeah, you'll be fine. Like, does he know? And he's like, okay, you have to go over there. Like,
Yeah. Like, how much is pre-set up? I think it's all, now that I'm watching, I think everything was preset. I think Alex is right on the money when he said about the note and how she said, you know, don't be upset with the things that, it's all for the greater good, basically. Like, I know it's going to be hard, but yeah.
Almost like we're seeing Annie play with the dollhouse, and we're not seeing the grandma play with the whole movie, with their lives, like putting different things in place and apologizing for the way things have to be.
Yeah.
For me, watching it back again, first of all, the nut thing always just, I can't handle it.
I know. I was like, oh.
What are you doing to me? You know? Mother with one sister, but I also thought it was another allergy. I'm like, this is horrible. This is terrible. You know?
I know.
But I was watching it and thinking, the moment in the car with Peter.
Yeah.
I'm really glad that they sat on him, and then he went to go look in the rearview mirror and then couldn't do it. I feel like any other moment would have been super cheap to show it, or blood on the car.
Oh, yeah.
And that right there, I think, makes the difference for the whole movie for me, is that they know there's a difference between and you actually seeing a private moment. It's really unsettling to see someone deal with something in a real way.
Yeah, yeah. Because it's not theatrical. It's not like, you're right. It's like, if it were theatrical, it would have been like, blood on the car, and he would have gotten out of the car and started screaming or whatever. It would have been but like, I think it's very true to life. I mean, if something like that happened, you wouldn't talk. I mean, you would be in shock. You'd be in complete and total shock, and but it's like, I wonder, I think, like, because he was such a pawn in the middle of the whole thing, and he's also connected to it, that I think it's a very he knew something he had to do. And I think you're right. I think it's all set out. I think he knew about the nuts. He knew about everything. He knew it was going to all happen, and he'd have to leave quickly, drive fast, get her out of the house, and then knew he'd drive by that pole again. Did he know maybe exactly how it was going to happen? No, but I mean, I think it was all set in motion, Crazy.
I literally just had to go into the basement and I almost died. I was like, I can't do this. I can't. I had to think hard. I'm like,
yeah. We're all gonna die. Yeah. We're not even at the scariest parts yet, It's okay. This is the fun part of recording stuff online. This is all the fun stuff that happens. Oh yeah, so we were talking about just like that. Yeah, that we think it's all like preordained and everything like that. So yeah, it's really, I don't know. It's very unsettling.
It's interesting. I don't know how much I'm sold on who knows what yet.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't think it's a deception thing, honestly. I don't think that even for Annie, I don't think even for Toni Collette, I don't think she's like, I know everything and I'm going to pretend I don't know it. I don't think it's that. I think it's she really, to me, and I don't know if you guys agree, but like, I think when she goes into the grief counseling, she really sets up her position. She really sets up where she's coming from. Like, she just looks so put upon. She's just so done. She's like, and she knows there's more, and she knows, you know what I mean? And she's just like, when she just lists the litany of things that her mother did, and she's like, she'll never be sorry, and she just keeps doing things. Like, it's just like, she knows what her mother's like. So I don't think everything is a giant shock to her, because she obviously cut her mother out for a reason, and and then she's ending up having to pay for everything. That's why it's called Hereditary. It's like she's paying for everything now that her mom did,
Yeah, and you stop what's being passed down.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, she can't stop anything that's happening, and she knows she can't. And, I can tell she regrets letting her even back into her life, and it's just, yeah, it's
I
really,
didn't hear what you said about Charlie the first go around either. I think when we were in theaters about, I had, the mother wasn't around for Peter.
mm,
She was for to be. And then when she had Charlie, she said something like the mother took her and
oh,
then put her close into her,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
which I had. I was like,
y-
oh, okay. So
yeah,
that's, then the whole, breastfeeding thing.
yeah. She said she wouldn't let me feed, she wouldn't let me feed you. She wouldn't let me, yeah, because she came in and was like, she knew that was the one she wanted. That was the kid that she had what she wanted, basically. You know.
Yeah, and what was your thought on, um, she had, Charlie had said back to her, she wanted me to be a boy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because she thought that she was gonna be the demon, like born as the demon, but then like it got messed up somehow. I don't know. I don't think they ever touch on that. They might at some point and that we didn't notice before, but I don't think they ever really, I mean, Peter is the body they're going to use in order, I mean, we're going way ahead, but like Peter's the body that they're going to, you know what I mean? So I think that her grandmother probably told her like who she was all this time. You know what I mean? The grandmother probably was like feeding all that into her, and manipulating her and telling her like this is who you are, kind of thing. This is how
Right,
you'll be.
the brother
Mm,
actually, she said he had schizophrenia. I wonder if he actually did or didn't.
yeah, yeah.
Maybe
He
he ended up
knew.
committing suicide.
Oh
Ruined the
yeah.
whole point.
Oh yeah. Because I think she tried with the brother. I think she tried to do it with her son, or their own son. I think she tried to make him
For
into.
what?
No, I think she did. I think, and probably the son was like, "Fuck you! I'm gonna commit. I'd rather commit suicide than do what you're doing. Like, live this what you're doing right now." So,
And you know what else too? I noticed, and I was just thinking about it when we said about here, was I don't think I realized the juxtaposition between school and in his room, and he's like looking at pictures of the girl on Facebook. He's so normal. He's such a normal kid. He has just a completely normal existence. Even with the father asking, like, "Are you sad?" He's like, "Hey," you know.
yeah,
But Charlie, in her environment, her room with the birds, and it's such a different environment for her. You can tell the grandmother had hooks in her and didn't have anything to do with kids.
yeah.
I don't think the first time around, it's really scary.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. You could. I mean, they felt like they were two completely different family, like two kids that couldn't be any different. Not that kids, they're different anyway. I mean, I don't have siblings, but I know that you guys do, and it's like you're different. You have totally different, likes and interests and whatever, but you're still like you can tell you're from the same family,
Right.
like in some sort of, I mean, like, but you know what I mean? It's like you can tell that, and I think that you're absolutely right. I mean, her room and her mannerisms and the way it's like she's like a completely different child. She's like a completely different, like she came from somewhere else, which she did, I guess. All right, so you want to keep going?
But
Good.
Let's do this. Let's do this, kids. Let's do this stuff. All right, let's see. Where am I? Oh my God.
so much.
Oh man. It's just more and more and more. I just,
Wow.
yeah. I mean, there's just more and more to talk about as it goes on. What I keep thinking of is like all these cuts together are going to look so funny because literally every time it comes back, we're like, oh, like
Go deep breath, deep breath.
deep breath. You deep breath, deep breath, deep breath. Um, okay, so I had forgotten all about. Let's go back to the beginning of when we came back. So I had forgotten all about Peter seeing the rearview mirror when he was sitting in class.
I don't remember
I
that.
don't remember that either.
Yeah, that totally escaped me, and I was like, that was such a cool effect, to see him like full of guilt, and I mean, I'm seeing a lot of guilt in him. Like I think there's a ton of guilt, but um, I did have to laugh at who calls their girlfriend princess because I'm like, I remember we laughed at that in the theater, and I'd forgotten about it. I was like, oh, it's like, oh, you're a princess. Um, So his reaction when he's sitting smoking pot with his friends, I mean, that's like, do you guys think that's Charlie like messing with him?
You know what this film does is it kind of makes you second guess your gut instinct.
Yeah.
Because you're like, if you go to the rational side of the spectrum,
Yeah.
you think, well, he's dealing with grief, and the whole movie is like how people deal in their weird ways, you know?
Yeah.
Like, is he just getting super paranoid because he's smoking weed and he's trying to deal with the grief? You see him kind of get a little bit of crying out there that he hadn't got before. I mean, I think he shed one tear in the car.
Yeah.
Which I'm kind of glad, because
Yeah.
another movie would have cheapened that to being like sobbing or something, or even he hadn't done anything. But then you're like, is this something else now that's affecting him at this point? Is it the fate thing, the destiny of what's going on, or I don't know. What do you think?
I want it to be grounded in his grief. That's what I want it to be, because I don't know if Charlie's like spirit is coming out. She knows she's part of something greater, and she would have known that going into it. So I don't know if she would mess with him necessarily.
Yeah.
You know? So I want it to be grounded that he is just human, and that's what humans do. That's why when everything else goes kind of crazy, he is the normal one. He has normal reactions. And it brings me back to when she said, you know, you never cried to make Lex character, but he does. Like, he's the, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm on the fence, you know?
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I'm very much like, when I saw that, I'm like, I'm not sure if that's her. And I think he sets that up, especially in the scene a little bit later when Peter's in bed and he hears the, and he's like, and, I'll get back to that actually in what's it, but like, I love the moment when he pulls up on his bike and she's sitting in the car. And then like he's just standing there clenching his fists trying to like go in the house, It's such a powerful moment. It's like, and then the minute he goes in, she leaves, It's just like, oh my God, like there's such a disconnect, and there's such and you could tell it's like forged from a very, very long time before. Joan completely reminds me of like the old people from Rosemary's Baby. She does, like the Coven. She
just go away. You're not problems.
Well, I remember thinking, and I don't know how you guys felt. I'd love to hear how you felt, but I remember when we saw the movie originally, when she came, I knew, I'm like, there's something wrong with her. She's just a little too nice.
Yeah.
When people, when you meet people and you're like, there's something wrong with you. You're just a little too something. Like, like you're covering.
Like, it was almost like she had too much knowledge. Like, oh yeah, I'm some guy too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so I have a question about that when we go a little further down. So like, she also, and I also wrote this down too, is she lies about going to the movies all the time to him. So there's lots of lies going on in that family, like about how bad things are, what's going on, and the like lots and lots of lies going on there. So back to the Peter scene when he was in his bed and he hears the tongue pop. Did you guys see anything in the room? Did you see anything? I only saw, because when he looked quickly over at the pile of clothes, but it looked like it could be somebody facing the wall, but it wasn't. It was a pile of clothes. But the first time he looks over, did you guys see anything?
I didn't. I tried. I feel like I'm like this the whole movie.
I know. I didn't see anything. It wasn't like with the mom where it's so definite, it's right there. And I sometimes feel like this movie, like you said, you like focus in because you feel almost like like it's one of those 3D paintings. You know what I mean? That you're trying to see something within that. It's like, because I'm like, am I missing something? Is there something there? Because sometimes he'll linger on things a little bit, and you're like, is there? And then there's nothing. Like, I don't see a thing.
You wake up from a nightmare and you're too dark and your eyes haven't adjusted right, and you just keep like, what is that? Is that something over there?
Mm-hmm.
That's the way it was. And then your eyes adjust and you're like, oh no, it's nothing. Okay.
Yeah. It was just, it's so disturbing. So when she was at her house, Joan's house, the first time, what was in the tea? What was that green thing? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. You get the sense that and going back to the Joan thing, I think when you first meet her, I think I even remember being the first time we saw it, thinking, first of all, the actor's fantastic. She's so good.
Oh, she's phenomenal.
You're like, this person is so, I don't know. You do get the sense that you're like, why is she being so nice? And you get that whole like, they really are being watched in every, there's always someone watching them.
Oh yeah, I'm convinced now the person outside the Peter's window was a Coven person. That was not Charlie. That was not, yeah.
Yeah, they're being watched all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And you get that with Joan. I think probably because we've seen it already and we didn't get that the first time. But she's so seems like such a nice. I don't want to say normal. I don't think anybody in this film is normal, but you just I don't know. She's so good at what she does. You know,
Yeah.
She's placed for a reason.
Yeah.
Definitely placed there for a reason because I think they're all the time. But
I had to look it up. The actress's name is Ann Dowd, who plays Joan. Yeah.
She's
phenomenal. Yeah, that character is phenomenal. I mean, she comes in, of course, she's got so much, you know, we know that she's there for a reason, but I mean, she's just perfect. Like she comes in perfectly. And you know, and I think there's no accident that she's very maternal. Mm-hmm. She's very loving toward Annie, you know. She's given Annie everything that Annie never had. That's why she makes Annie uncomfortable because she's never had a mom like that. So I think she's all those maternal things. I have more questions about Joan too for you guys. So, I mean, of course, like she also, you know, subconsciously obviously wanted to kill her kids with the paint thinner and the, you know, I'm going right in order of what my notes, what I wrote down. And we knew that too. And that's obviously she wants to take them out of whatever's happening, whatever she knows is going to happen. You know, she wants to take them away from it. Do I think she deliberately did it? Maybe. You know.
Dollhouse though. It feels like a dollhouse thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is she being played again? Is she being moved around the house kind of thing?
Yeah.
Like, did certain things start happening in her house when she was younger before her brother killed herself? Is she like, all right, this is what's gonna happen. I can't
let this happen. Yeah.
First select the match? Like, is that why she went there and not the daughters who first select the match?
Mm-hmm.
The other thing too, I think.
No, they were sleeping together. That's what she says. Yeah, they were in the same room. Yeah, because she covered them both in herself because she was going to kill all three of them. And he heard the match light, and that's what woke Peter up. So of course Peter doesn't trust his mother, as far as he can throw. You know, you get your mother over you with lighter fluid. You know, it's like maybe not. Maybe. But it's like. Mm-hmm.
It brings me to that scene around the dinner table.
Yeah, I have that. I have a whole
Yeah, you start to think like, man, this is really. Are we seeing mental illness?
Oh yeah.
It makes you second guess what you're saying. Are you seeing mental illness, and that's really a scary part of it?
Mm-hmm.
Else? You know, I had a question for you too that I thought.
Yeah.
The blue paint.
Mm.
Did you feel like that was the grandmother on on Joan's number? Because sometimes you get horror movies where things are contrived to move the story along, and I don't think it's at all.
Oh yeah. I mean definitely. I think there was a push of some sort for her to look at it. I think she had put it aside and not had thought of, you know, because she's also got her work she's trying to finish, you know, for her exhibit. So I think that also, did you notice it's the Archer Gallery, which made me really happy?
No, I didn't notice that.
When they email her, it's the Archer Gallery. I was like, I meant to tell you that. But yeah, no, I think that she was you know, distracted by her work. And then I think, definitely. I think that was some kind of sign to like look at that note and look at that phone number and call her. Definitely. So yeah, the dinner scene. I wrote down egad after the dinner scene because, man, I'd forgotten how amazingly uncomfortable that scene is. Like, just it's insanely uncomfortable. And the look that she gives him at the end, like when he says to her about like, why was she there? Like, you know, basically throws the blame back at her. Like, why was she with me? You know? and that face she gives them, I'm like, you know, there's a lot of hatred. There's like a lot of underlying stuff that's going on there, and whether or not, I mean, I think that she was trying to save both of her kids by killing them when she had the paint there, but she has a lot of just misguided anger and a lot of, and you're right. We could be looking at, it's like that's the scary part about this whole thing is that if you took away the supernatural element, it's like there's a lot of mental illness issues. There's a lot of not communicating. There's a lot of, misguided anger and misguided, um, they're all estranged. They're all, they're not talking to one another. They're lying to one another. They're, hiding everything, Um, yeah, it's an incredibly upsetting scene. And man, I can't imagine how hard that was to film. When I was watching it, I was like, Toni Collette must have been like, if they had to do that for a whole day, like built up like that, she must have had a headache when she walked out of there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because by the end when she was just screaming her head off at him, I was like, and poor, and then Gabriel Byrne in the middle, just sitting there trying.
That whole thing always like, poor dad, like he's trying his best to pull everybody back together, and
Yeah. And he's not succeeding at all. Right. He's never going to succeed. But they're not talking to one another either. So the other question I had, so let's go back to Joan again. Do you guys think that the son and the grandson are a setup? That they're not real? Yeah.
I get the sense, because we know more at this point, right?
Yeah.
That. What do you mean by setup?
I mean that they're fake. That she's just trying to because notice that it's like not just it's her son and her grandson, and Annie has her mom and her daughter. So it's like she's trying to line herself up right next to Annie, so Annie will trust her. Like you've lost as much, like when she's like they drown together. Like she just spits that out at her. Like she doesn't even like wait. It's in the window of her car. Like you'd normally tell somebody that like sitting down, like having a coffee, going, "This is what happened to my fam." She literally spits it at her to make her go, "Oh," and it literally makes Annie pause, and you see it. You see Annie like go, "Oh my God," and I think it was a definite play to try to get closer to her like right away, because then when you find out more about Joan, you're like, oh, so I think that I don't think she had a son or a grandson, and I don't think the whole thing with the with the seance or any of that was real. I think it was all to say, because obviously she wants Annie to do what she's going to do.
Yeah, no, I agree. I feel like even her being at the art supply store.
Oh yeah.
She knew exactly where she needed to be for her to see her.
Yeah.
And everything about it seemed planned.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Forceful, but planned.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Would you say forced? Did you say forced or not?
Yeah, it didn't feel forced, but it felt planned.
Oh, it didn't feel forced. It felt planned. Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. 100%. Yeah, she's definitely there for a reason the whole time. She's the setup. She's the one who's like pushing Annie to do what they need Annie to do, because she's not going to do it on her own. So they've got to like get somebody to kind of guide her in the direction they need her to be in. This is kind of a fun little thing. The chalkboard, that was done in camera. The chalkboard, they did it with a magnet under the table. So somebody actually sat there. They had to figure out how to write "I love you, Grandma,"
upside down.
Underneath, upside down as they read. Yeah, they said it took a very long time to figure out how to do it properly and then to get it into the camera. So I thought that was kind of neat. I was looking out for that scene to see the little chalkboard moment. Crazy.
I wonder how they got it to move from "I love" down to the bottom.
If you watch, the chalk goes like this. It goes "I love," and then it zips around and then writes. It did a swoop. It never left the chalkboard. Like it went like that, and then it swooped down, and then it wrote "Grandma" or "You Grandma," something like whatever it said at the bottom line. Because if you it did that. It's so cool. I was like watching it. I'm going, oh my God. I mean, I'm such a sucker for practical effects. You know, I mean, there's CGI is great, but I love good, you know, I'm an 80s horror fan. I love good practical effects in camera. There's nothing cooler than watching somebody do something really awesome on camera, you know? So,
Feels real.
yeah. What's that?
It feels realer.
It
Like
does
this
feel. Yeah,
really like
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, anytime you watch anything like that, it's like you see, you know, like fights or you see someone get cut or you see anything and it's nothing's done with CGI. It's done all in camera. It's done all with makeup effects. It's done all with I love that. I just love every bit of physical effects in camera. So I was impressed with that. The last thing before we go back was when she said you didn't kill her.
yes, we both said it to each other. We're like,
I forgot about that. Was I already blocking things out at that point in the movie? I might have been. I might have been. I might have literally just been eating popcorn, going, I can't. I don't know what's happening anymore. I'm like freaking out. I think I was starting to do what you were doing, Alex. I think I was starting to like let things go off because I was starting to get disturbed, and I think I wasn't taking in information the proper way when I watched the movie. I think it was starting to like my brain was going. Your brain has to protect you on some level, and when you're starting to freak out, your brain starts shutting off doors to say, nope, you got to stay here because you're starting to freak out. You need to stay in this. And I think that's what happened. I really do because I'm like, I don't remember her saying that. I don't. So did Annie kill her mom?
See, now, when I heard that just then, my brain heard he didn't kill her.
Oh, he.
He's still here. I don't know. I don't know what I heard.
I heard you didn't kill her. That Joan said that to Annie. Like you didn't kill her, and then she said she's still here.
or was she saying it like because you sent her to the party, you didn't kill her? So it's
Yeah.
like it works on so many levels that you're like.
I didn't think about the grandmother.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if she means Charlie. I don't know if she means the grandmother.
Yeah.
I mean, the grandmother was in a hospice thing, so I mean, but you know, she probably does mean Charlie when you think about it. Like she's trying to like comfort her and say, because Peter literally had just said, you know, why'd you let her go to the party? You know, so she's blaming herself, obviously. Yeah, it's so many. Oh,
That's before.
Was that before the dinner scene or
Yeah.
after? I don't remember.
so that was after because then there was the seance. So there was the dinner scene and then there was the seance.
Because it's interesting that
Right.
Annie says to Joan, my daughter was killed.
Mm,
Doesn't he say my daughter died tragically?
in an accident, yeah.
Was
Yeah.
killed.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, because she's totally at that point. I think she's totally blaming Peter. I mean, she says that at the dinner scene. She's like, "You never apologized. You never sent." Oh, she's blaming Peter. She's blaming Peter for killing her. Like, absolutely. I think at that point, and then when Peter turns the tables on her, then she's starting to like blame herself. You know.
Yeah, and then Joan says to her at the end with the candle and the words,
Mm,
all our families in the house,
Your
even
son.
your son. It's
Yeah.
important. I was like, oh no.
I know. I remember that. I actually remember that moment in the theater, sort of, because I remember being like,
Why is it there?
like, don't have a seance. Don't do it. It never ends well. It never ends well. You know, I was like, oh, and you know, I wonder. It's so funny. Like, if all that was fake, if that she didn't have a son and a grandson, like, who was the chalkboard?
Right.
Right.
Was it the
It was the
grandmother?
grandmother. Yeah.
Was
That's
it
why-
yeah, was it the mother? Was it her mother? You know, like who was it? Like, is it Charlie? Like, who is it? You know, that's movie. Like all these thoughts went through my mind. I'm like, if that's not real, then who is that? You know, it's so messed up. It's so messed up.
Even with the placemat, the doormat.
Yeah.
I don't think, again, I put so much weight behind it because you don't know what to pay attention to and what not to when you
Yeah.
first. But in this, like, viewing,
Mm-hmm.
they're just everywhere. They're everywhere. They're watching everything that they're doing. They have
Everything.
now.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Every single thing. Like they're never not there.
Yeah, and again with the line, like my mother made maps like that. Oh, really? That's so funny. she totally brushes it off.
Yeah.
I know. But like, she's got to want her to know on some level she wouldn't have left that mat out, you know?
Right.
But it's also, I think it's another way to connect her like to a parental kind of unit so she'll trust her. Like, oh, my mom did that. Oh, how nice. You know, there's all these little things like to get that trust built where she'll open up to her more and tell her things, you know?
Did you have a speculation on the tea thing?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's kind of one of those like coven, you know, weird coven witch things of like an herbal tea. You know, they did that. That's a trope in like I mentioned Rosemary's Baby. That's a trope in, you know, they fed her they had that tannis root in Rosemary's Baby that was in the necklace and everything, and it was like a weird smelly herb, and you saw like even when Annie pulled it out of her mouth, she went like she kind of like had this face like what the hell is this, you know? So I think it's definitely one of those coven herbs to make her open up more, whatever the hell it is, you know.
The funeral scene with the lips thing. I don't think I connected those two, but now I was like, wait a second.
Yeah.
What's going on there? Creepy.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, they all have that kind of weird, you know, they use a lot of drugs, they use a lot of herbs. I mean, witches do that anyway. Witches use a lot of herbs, witches use a lot of, you know, medicinal stuff. I mean, most witches, you know, like witches are good. I mean, you know, they're not doing all this stuff, we hope. Um, but you know, they have like I've had a few friends that are Wiccan and like there's always teas and herbs and oils and you know, all kinds of stuff that they use in order to do all kinds of stuff. So yeah.
You know what I want to do, and I wonder what your thought on this is. Now that we're talking about them being everywhere and having a hand in everything, what thought about the seance male slipping his way through the door there?
Oh, absolutely. It's one of them. Yeah. Oh my God, I didn't even think of that. The seance thing. Yeah. Oh, it's got to be one of them. It's one of them just planting the seed. You know, just.
There's a scene at the end that I don't want to say yet.
Yeah.
But that sense that they're all over the place all the time.
Well, what the hell else are they doing? I mean, seriously, like think about it. Like what the hell? Like really? Like they're just waiting for this to happen. This is the thing. This is the big thing for the coven. You know what I mean? So it's like they're waiting for this to happen. So what the hell else are they going to do? They're not shopping, except Joan. You know what I mean? Like they're not doing, you know, they're just waiting around. So they're just planting seeds and figuring out what the next thing is to get it to move along as quickly as possible. I think that's probably what they're waiting for, you know, to have those final steps brought into place. All right, let's do this. Oh my God. Ugh. What's that?
A whole lot to unpack.
There's so much to unpack. Seriously. I know. There's like 20 minutes left. I'm just like, oh my God. It's so, ugh. Oh boy. It just gets worse and worse and worse as it goes on. What's that?
Just because it's fresh in my head, that scene with Peter in the classroom finally.
Yeah.
Is that outwardly everyone else, if that had happened in school, and you knew that person had a lot of loss in their family or had mental illness in their family, you would write that off as mental illness.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. I mean, like, but the fact that he was like, his face was contorted and his hand, I mean, he's looking like Charlie. He's got the same like look, you know. It's like it's so disturbing on so many levels. All right, I'm gonna go in order. As there's a few things, more than a few. But there's like, so basically, like I wrote, I hate ants. I can't stand them. And the ant scene, I'm like, oh God, when she follows the trail of ants and that slow fade of her face reminded me very much of The Shining. I thought about The Shining a lot, and I'm starting to see Ari Aster definitely takes a cue from Stanley Kubrick. You can like tell as you like watch this more. I'm like, because the way he sets up scenes, the way he frames them, is very much like Kubrick did. Like it's like a nightmare. Most of Kubrick's movies are like nightmares. You know, they're like this is definitely taking a cue from that. But that scene in particular, when her face, when she like stood over him and saw the ants on his face, and she was like, and then she kept, like that was a very Kubrick style thing, I think. So I mean, I don't know what you guys think, but that definitely called that to me.
I can see that, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate I hate the way he does things because it's so much more terrifying than I think anybody else would have handled it. The fact that, you brought up a lot of the lying in the film, and the fact that what she's seeing isn't real,
Mm.
and what Peter is inferring when he wakes up, we don't know if that's true or not, especially
Yeah.
with later on.
Yeah.
This thing where you can't trust anything.
Yeah.
You don't know if what you're real or what you're saying is true.
Definitely. Yeah, I wrote down too that I think that she's definitely gaslighting him, Peter. She's definitely like
Talking about Dad, what are you talking about?
Yeah, like she's definitely gaslighting Peter. She's definitely like because she doesn't know what's up either, and she doesn't particularly like her son either.
Right.
Because she's starting to realize maybe what's happening, and I think it's like it's inevitable, like what's going to happen. So she doesn't really want, like, I mean, the whole "I never wanted to be your mother" and that she pressured me into, like, that is the most that's worse than the dinner scene. I forgot about that scene. I actually was sitting here and I went, oh, I forgot that she tells him she never wanted him. I'm like, and I mean, that's such a, I think it's like her way of completely pushing him away, knowing what's going to happen, and in her mind, like in her, subconscious mind, knowing what's going to happen.
That whole scene in the theater, I can remember being like, I turned to him and I went, why are you wet? And then all of a sudden I was like, why are you wet? What is happening? And he's like, what are you talking about? I remember it very clearly. And then even now, I didn't think I was going to have such a visceral reaction to that scene. And then I turned to him and I was like, I still have goosebumps. I'm like, oh God, it just goes back, and you're just like, this is escalating too quickly.
Yeah.
And then that, like, I didn't want to be your mom. I'm like, oh my gosh, because when we first saw it, I was like, why haven't you ever seen that? What are you doing right now? Like, don't tell me. I did it now.
Well, and then part of me also thinks that she, I mean, I definitely saw when she got possessed. This, like, in the seance scene, I could see that happen, and part of me is thinking that maybe there's something in her that's pushing her to do and say what she's going to do. Like, because when she says I never want to be your mother, the first thing is, like, it's like she's like, oh my, like it came out like she didn't even have a filter, like it just plopped out of her mouth, and then she's like, no, but I'm happy. I'm like, oh God. And I think there might be something there that's driving a wedge even more, between them, that needs to be there, that wedge that needs to be there in order for everything to happen, So these could be her real feelings, but they could also be like some kind of thing that's pushing her forward to say that,
Was the brother actually mentally ill, or was it them? And does she actually have a problem with sleepwalking, or some other force?
Oh, I don't think she has a problem sleepwalking. No, I think that's something's pushing her to do what she's doing.
Later, she goes, I'm not sleepwalking anymore. And I'm like, all right, then what you're doing, you're choosing to do.
I know. I actually wrote down, like, what's a dream, what's reality? Because, like, that dream just, you never, like, when it happened, I'm like, is this real? Like, what's happening? And then she wakes up and you're like, did she really tell him that? Did she really tell him she never wanted to be his mom, or was that part of the dream, or was that, it's like, it's so weird.
The alternative to that is just as scary, because if you think about just the house being quiet, she got up and the husband Stephen didn't know she was up.
Yeah.
If none of that actually happened, she probably just stood over Peter all night.
Yeah.
Which is horrifying.
Oh yeah. I remember that was one of the worst parts of Paranormal Activity for me when I first saw that she just stood there. I'm like,
just do something or don't do something.
Yeah.
Like, what's that?
Yeah. And I mean that worked on so many levels, that visual of somebody just standing over you while you're oh God. I'm like, I don't know what I would do if I woke up and saw somebody standing over. I'd be like, yeah, no, it wouldn't be good. It wouldn't ever be good. So, so a few things. I mentioned I saw Annie get possessed in the seance scene because I saw that moment when the candle went up and you saw her body go. Like it was like, whoop, Um, did you notice that all the houses were stacked all of a sudden, all the in the
I was like,
lobby of
Yeah.
like not lobby, the foyer of the house? I was like, when did that happen?
yeah, I don't remember that. And then that's what we talked about real quickly. Is like it's this beautiful house, or perfect at the top, and there's all these disheveled, like mismatched houses underneath. So and then
Mm,
there's way more going on underneath than what's
yeah.
pretty picture of this family.
Oh yeah.
Like,
It's like that beautiful shot I didn't mention before at Charlie's funeral when like it goes right down into the dirt. I love that. I just absolutely love that moment. Yeah. Yeah, I was like, "Oh, look at all the stacked houses." Um, so there was something did Peter like do you think that possibly Peter got possessed then too when they had the séance? Like part of Peter because that's when, obviously something was inside of like Charlie gets inside of Peter, Or do you think it's when the light comes? Do you think that's what when we see the light go through the room or do you think it's during the séance like when he's like because he has this moment at the end where he's like, I don't like this, I don't like this, and that was when the like everything broke, and then he freaked out, you know.
interesting that he feels something. The air changed, but the father doesn't. She's like, did you feel that? You and the
Yeah.
father obviously doesn't. So
Mm.
Yeah, and
yeah,
another thing that I thought was interesting too, first of all, I'm not a fast reader, so that highlighted blurb about the demon, I didn't catch that whole thing except something about that it can only take him when he's most vulnerable.
Yeah, it takes over the most vulnerable. It's male, so it seeks out a male form. Um, and anyone that like would contribute to it taking over the male form would have all these riches. That's why that they showed her with all like the gold coins and everything was because her family was chosen as
Yeah,
the
reading that to answer your question about him being possessed. I don't think he was possessed then at the
mm,
seance,
mm.
but that blurb really made me feel like they've been trying to break him down.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Taking
Definitely.
her head in the car, everything up to this point, him getting pulled on the bed, like everything is trying to break him so that
Mm,
he becomes more and more fragile. And I think the light, but I wonder what the light had to do with Charlie in her
mm.
room.
I
Like
don't
where that,
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of what Charlie like who Charlie is. And I mean, I don't know if I mean, and also we could say that it's Joan across the street yelling at him. That's the moment too because that's right before when all that happens. So so a couple more things I just wanted to say too. Da, 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 da. The smile, the scene in this classroom when he looks over and he sees himself smiling, like that's just nightmare fuel. That's just nightmare fuel. It's like the mom in the corner. I see that scene and I'm just like, oh my God. That reminded me that was very Kubrick too. That moment was very like that little like subtle scary scene is very, yeah.
that's when I had to shut the door in the room. And I was like, I can't. No, the door needs to be shut. I can't do this.
I know. I'm upstairs and it's dark up here and I'm like, yeah. Yeah. And definitely I'm trying to figure out what each of her, I mean, some are obvious, but her rooms meant her miniatures because not all of them are obvious. Like, obviously I think she's doing her mom's funeral. That's the last one before she trashes everything. I think
yeah,
that's her mom's funeral. She definitely did, Peter's room. She did, Charlie's accident. She did, but like the plate, uh, uh, um, not kindergarten, preschool, the preschool.
I was gonna say that. I don't know what that's
I don't know.
about.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to know why she did, and they focused on it for a little while too. So I
Okay.
wonder what it was. And I don't remember her talking about the kids in preschool or anything like that. So I don't know. I don't know. But I was trying to figure out what each of those meant. I was like, what do these mean? What do which I mean, some like I said, some are obvious, but some are like I'm sure they have more meaning. You know.
Well, that's
you know what? It just made me thinking just off the top of my head with the preschool thing. As we talk about them being all around, like did the grandmother like have even the teacher watching the kids while they were in school?
Oh, that
Like
could be. Yeah, that could definitely be.
About the fact that she did not want to have Peter.
Yeah.
And she was forced to have him. Like, was the teacher watching Peter even when he was a kid?
Oh, yeah.
Things like that.
Oh, it could be. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point. Yeah. So weird. Um, Charlie in the corner in Peter's room when her head turns into a ball. Oh my God.
That one got me.
Yeah.
Got me real bad.
Yeah, that one got me in the. I remember that moment in the theater. I do remember that because at that point I was a goner, and I was like, no, 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 no. Like I'm not feeling this anymore. I don't know. There's a time when like you stop trusting directors. Like you start to go, what are you gonna show me? Like you're gonna show me something that's really gonna like scare the shit out of me because I'm not trusting you anymore. Like I don't feel like I'm on a good ride. I don't feel like I'm on a good ride right now. I feel like I'm on a scary ride. Um, so yeah, so when Joan yells at Peter, and she's yelling, she actually yells all the names that are on the wall. Yeah, which I'd never noticed before because I've been writing the names down on as I've gone along, and I was like, oh, she does all the names. I was like, oh my God. I was like, I didn't notice that before. I had no idea what they meant. And who's writing the names?
Yeah.
Yeah, and how did the mother's body get up there with the troll the attic?
The attic. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember thinking in the theater, like, did Annie, dig up that body and bring and like, I don't know, or maybe the husband does know something and he's the one that did it.
Oh, no, but maybe the husband is like so aware that Annie is like fucked up, and maybe he's lying because he knows she did something.
Yeah, she took the body.
Yeah, because he'd be catching her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. And maybe that's why he lied to her and he didn't tell her like your mom's grave's been desecrated because he knows that maybe she had something to do with it. Maybe she said she was at the movies again.
Right, and he was writing what seemed like the start of an email to psychiatrists.
Yeah. Yeah.
Essentially a mental break.
Yeah, she's having a mental breakdown. A little bit. Yeah, and when he comes in the house and he asks about the smell, and I was like, and that hadn't like registered with me, I think the first time we saw it, and I was like, I thought maybe it was like paint thinner or something because she spilled everything or she trashed stuff. I thought that was that. But I'm like, oh God, the grandmother's rotting upstairs. Like, ugh. Yeah.
When we first initially pulled out.
What's that?
When we initially pulled
Bill
out.
just walked by. It scared the crap out of me. I was like, oh my God. What were you saying? I'm sorry, Alex. Go ahead.
Oh, when we initially pulled out of the window.
Yeah.
There was a few flies flying around the window. And I don't think I saw that the first time. And now with the smells and the body upstairs.
I know. It's so weird. All right, well, let's do the last. Let's finish up. How's that sound? Are we ready? Let's do this. Okay. Oh, my goodness. Anyway. Yep, still just as disturbing. Yep.
That head hitting thing, I can't. The second she starts running, I'm like, nope, full body sweat. I'm sweating from every orifice.
I was literally sitting here watching it, and I'm like this, like over my shoulder. Like I was like, because it was creeping me out, just like it did in the theater. I was like, oh my God, I know exactly what's gonna happen, but I don't want to watch it.
And I was like, where's Aaron? What's happening? And
What's happened? What happened?
Your screen went completely black.
Oh, you know why? Because I turned off the light.
Oh my gosh, it freaked me out.
I'm sorry. No, because I couldn't see her in the corner, and I wanted to see her because I couldn't, because the light here, like if you have any light, if it's like, it depends on the angle, but this light is so strong, and I'm looking and I'm like this, and I'm like, I couldn't see her, so I just clicked it off to see her real quick. Yeah, I'm sorry. I was like, I can't see her. I want to see her. All right, so I completely forgot that he accuses her. Like I said, like that he accuses her of stealing the bot. I completely forgot that he does that before the scene. Um, and then I was like asking, I said, did she know what was going to happen when she did that with the book? I don't think she did. I
No,
think
I
she
think
was,
she was gonna die.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
It's funny that you say that because I think that's how I initially felt, but watching it back now, you really don't know because is she saying to him, "I love you, you're the love of my life, and I love
yeah,
people"?
yeah.
Is that she's the
Gonna say,
final?
yeah. I mean, that's the thing is that I think that she sort of knew, but I don't know. I don't think she knew how it was going to happen maybe because it looks like a surprise. Like when it happens, like when she throws the book and he sets on fire, like she honestly looks like, I mean, it's another Kubrick moment of, you know,
yeah,
um yeah, she honestly looks very surprised when that happens, but I think she probably knew they were going to die, but I don't think she knew how it was going to happen, and
right,
that
right.
was how it happened, unfortunately. Um, so, so Alex, did you see the naked people around the house?
Yes, for a split
It's like,
second. Again, it caught me because what was right before that with her? Was it the fire?
It was the fire, and then when the light comes up and you see her get possessed, you see when
Right.
she like,
For whatever reason, I'm so thrown off by that.
yeah, it happens so fast and it's bright, and then it goes to dark real fast, so it's hard for your eyes to focus in on the people. It was
I
just
did
because
a split second because the first time I know you both said, "Oh, did you see them?" and I didn't see them.
I know. I know. I know. They're like all over the place around the house. Like when you look, they're like all around the house. It's crazy. Because like more like this is now the third time I've watched it, and it's like literally I'm like, oh, there they are. I see them all. Um, I mean that scene when he wakes up, when Peter wakes up and she's in the corner is like and then when she flies behind him, like doggy paddles through the air to get across the room. It's terrifying. It's a really scary visual. It really is. And it's because it's so still and so quiet, and there's nothing, it's like that she's just stuck in the corner, like just sitting there, and she's not moving. She's not doing anything. She's just there. And then when he, like, and I hadn't noticed this before, but how she, like, slowly, like, turns her head. I mean, he slowly turns his head and you think he's going to see her, and then that's when she just floats behind him, and it's just like the way that they set that whole thing up was so terrifying. And then the downstairs when he comes down the stairs and he's standing there and he sees his father, and she's in the corner behind him again. Alex, did you see the man in the doorway this time?
I did.
Yeah.
I did, and I do because the first time again I was missing things. I think I was fixated on the ring. I didn't realize that they had punched him on his ring so much there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's funny, it doesn't punch you in the face. When she's up in the corner and he first wakes up, I don't think all three of us noticed her for like a good
No.
Yeah.
5 seconds.
It's the same kind of thing. You're looking at it, you're like, is there something there? I think there's something.
No, I remember very clearly because we had the two guys in front of us, and when because what it is you're focusing on him so much, and she's kind of blurred in the corner. The way that they shot it, she's not clearly in focus. It's him that we're looking at, and like when you look up, it's like, oh my god, like there's that, and the guys in front of us, one of them went, oh my god, like that, and that, like, and I kind of like, and then that's when I saw it, and I went, oh, because I saw her in the corner, and it was like I remember that reverberating through the audience like that, just seeing her. And then when she floated, everybody lost it. Like when she went behind him, like that's when everybody lost it. Not everybody's, and I know not everybody saw the man in the doorway either,
No.
because not everybody reacted to that. We reacted to that, like we saw it, and it was like, because your eyes don't, it's hard to focus on it, honestly, because you can't really make it out. And when I realized who it was, that it was the dude from the funeral, I was like, oh my god. That completely.
Like, oh no, stop smiling.
Oh yeah, and then when she's gone behind him, and then she's all of a sudden in front of him. It's like, she came out of nowhere,
Yeah, because it really does. It's one of those things where, when you feel like someone's behind you,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're like, oh, I'm gonna walk a little faster, and then you feel like it's going faster. It's one of those things where it's almost a primal fear of being, especially upstairs, or like, oh.
Oh yeah. I mean, he knew he was in danger, but you could tell that he was like, and that's the thing is that I don't know. I mean, I don't know I think maybe the original plan might have been to like capture him and hold him down and let the spirit go into him, and you know what I mean? Like, I think that's probably why she want to do that,
You know what's funny that you say that, though, is so when he was looking around, remember he shuts the door because he's afraid of the hallway before he goes downstairs? I thought, is that the hallway with the attic? Because I remember him going up into the attic the first time we saw it, and I was like, oh, how did he get up in the attic? Because they had shown him pulling that attic down with the
hook,
But then when she chased him and she tripped, I thought, man, everything has been so perfectly planned. Now all of a sudden the attic's open. When he goes up there, there's candles. So I'm like, was this part of the plan too, that they chased him up there just to jump out the window? So creepy.
I know. It's like you gotta wonder what was like set. I think they did plan to like. I think everything was planned basically, like in some way. And I mean, he was terrified of his mother. They set that whole thing up through the entire thing, so it was like perfect that she would chase him and come after him. That he's terrified of her anyway. And I think, that's not what she would have done initially, but she definitely did that after the fact. She definitely did that after she got possessed. She went after him. So it was like perfect that he's afraid of her. He's going to run. He's going to go up the stairs. He's going to see all this, the stuff in the attic, and he's going to see, what's going on. And then her, obviously up there, which is another visual in the movie that's horrifying. Just horrifying. It's like, I remember seeing that and watching that. That really pushed me over the edge when we saw it in the theater. I remember that scene really. I said, no, my brain went, when she just, and my brain went, no, I'm good. I started checking out.
Yeah, about how it's even worse because he's so, once again, grounded in reality. Like, your initial reaction is like, Mom, please stop, just stop, because it's still your mom. Yeah. And you're like really freaked out. And I think a lot of horror movies don't necessarily let people be real and have real reactions and real emotions. And like, that's what's scary, is that he's still having real reactions to everything.
Yeah.
Every reaction is a natural reaction to this circumstance. I think it could have easily been him like just screaming or like, he is begging her to stop because she's scary. It's so much scarier.
Yeah. I mean, that just kind of like proves Alex Wolff's, how good he was and how great how well the character was written too, of what he would have done in those situations, what he would have, like how he would have behaved, how he would have acted, how he would have reacted to what was happening around him. He's still a kid too, he's like, even though he's a teenager, he's still a kid. So he's still gonna, go to that default shock and not move. And then when he finally does have a reaction, it's very strong in every area. If you notice, like anytime he'd freeze and watch something, the next move was almost always like something huge. So he'd run, or he'd scream, or whatever it was always huge. It was always a huge jump, Yeah, the music at the end, I forgot about the music at the end too, when they're up in the treehouse. And how unsettling that music is. That's something that Midsommar and this one have in common. They have that same kind of unsettling score. Like you can't be anything near comfortable when you listen to. I think that it's funny. I was reflecting. I don't know how you guys feel, but I was like reflecting on the first time I saw it and remembering the very end when they explain everything, and Joan explains what happened. And I was really numb at that point. Like, so now when I watch it, I can kind of like watch it a little bit easier and see things. I think by the time By the time the spirit went into him and everything, like when he jumped out the window, I was like I said, like I checked out. Like after I heard the head fall, and I'm like, no. I'm like, nope. Like, so by the end, I was so confused. I was like, what's happening? Who is he? What's going on? I don't know. Yeah, really, because it's like you really do. You feel like you start to check out. You start to say, not check out in a bad way, not like you're not liking it. It's just that you
can't take it anymore.
yeah, it was overload. It was an overload, and it's still an overload, even though I know what's going to happen. Watching it just now, I literally felt myself going, creeping, and just not feeling good about that end.
Yeah, it's like actual trauma.
Yeah, yeah.
When we left the first time, specifically the head banging and the sawing. First of all, I never thought I'd be able to understand what it sounds like when someone saws their own spine. And that moment, and then I was like, that's probably what it sounds like, and that's never be able to figure what it sounds like.
Oh yeah.
Definitely, it's like, yeah, I think it's exactly that moment. He jumps out, the light goes into him, and then you see the body float. I think, in fact, I remember in the theater someone laughed at that. And I think it's just like too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember that too. I actually was gonna write that down because I remember the same thing. I remember somebody laughing, and it was definitely a tension breaker because they had enough. It was a very quiet theater. Like people weren't loud during the entire movie. And I remember like it was seriously like that moment of, oh my, I can't do this anymore. Like this is just too much. Like by the end and I think maybe that's why it's got such a visceral reaction from people, like either they really love it or they really hate it. I think because it is too much. It's like excess, but I don't know. It's just it's not a movie I could watch over and over again. Definitely.
You know what's funny about it is the reason that I knew it was different than anything I had seen, besides the fact that we were all traumatized and slept, with the lights on for like a good week, was that like normally you see a good movie and it's really scary or it's really creative and you recommend it. I didn't recommend it to people.
No.
I would be like, listen, if you don't like horror, don't watch it. It's traumatizing. Like
Yeah, it was the same. I feel exactly the same way. I didn't tell anybody to go see it.
Yeah.
I had people that I think my mom, like she said to me, she's like, "Oh, you saw that? How was it?" And I went, I was like, I said, it's very disturbing. And she said, it is. I'm like, very. I was like, it's very disturbing. I was like, it's a movie that gets under your skin. And it's not in a good way where you're really, really freaked out, I said, it's just a lot of visuals. He definitely, now that I watch it again, I can see it with more of a, like, critical eye. And I see he definitely loves Kubrick. He definitely, there's things about him that I'm like, oh yeah. Not that he's imitating or anything, but you can definitely tell. I'm sure if they asked him that, he's a person, because he loves visuals and he does beautiful visuals. Like his scenes are gorgeous, set up well, and he knows how to paint a scene well, but yeah, he's sick.
Yeah, it's like one of those things where you look at something and you're like, oh, this is gorgeous, but I'm sick.
Yeah.
Like, beautiful.
It's funny because that song too, like the Judy Collins song, I Looked at Clouds at the end. That song has a very special memory for me because Judy Collins came to Borders when I was working there, and she did a little, she had a CD come out, and she sang some songs, and that was one, of course, that's because that's her big hit. She sang that one, and so I heard her sing it live, and I'm like, and I hear that, and I'm like, now it's a totally different. I heard it again. I'm like,
no, don't like that.
And I remember hearing it at the end of the movie when we saw it in the theater, and being like, "Hi, I like that song." I don't know how I feel about that song. I mean, it's a perfect song to end the movie. It really is. When you think of the lyrics and everything like that, it's a perfect one. But
there was a quote on the blackboard. I don't remember if it's the nose bang scene for Peter or the one before.
Mm-hmm.
It said, punishment is wisdom or something along those lines.
Yeah.
And repeated something about giving them his wisdom.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, it's just, Can't get away from it.
Relentless. Yeah, he's pretty. When you can like step back and look at things, he's pretty relentless during it. Like you can feel everything means something. Everything's
Yeah.
loaded. Yeah.
As we get through it too, and the whole trope with like Peter breaking down Peter, I was like, that's what he's doing with us the whole time.
Oh yeah.
He's scratching at the back of your brain, trying to
Yep.
like just break you down a little bit every time.
Yep. Bill and I watched Midsummer together, and I told him, I said, I don't know what to expect from this movie. I'm just letting you know. I said, because his first movie was a mind fuck. So I'm like, I said, I don't know what, I said, I'm just warning you. You might see something you don't want to see. And that one, it was disturbing, but it wasn't like this one. I mean, I think maybe because, the only problem that I see with Ari Aster falling into is that he's going to fall into the same kind of trap that M. Night Shyamalan fell into, of like you expect to be upset, you expect, you know what I mean, and it's like if he makes something lighthearted, everybody's gonna be like, it's hard because then you can fall into that trap of they think you're going to tell the same story over and over, or they want the same story over and over again, same kind of story, same kind of disturbing images and a messed up path, which Midsummer is, but yeah, I didn't like it as much as this one. This one, it didn't do the same thing to me. It was just by the end, I was like, by the time he was in the bear suit, I was like, it just was like, okay.
We've heard that story before with Midsummer, like the Wicker Man, and yeah. You know what I mean? Like I feel like we heard this story. This is a completely different story.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't expect this.
And not only Midsummer stepped away from your normal day to day, and this really ruins a lot of things for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
You get away from it in your own house,
Like, yeah, that's so true. I mean, and I think we touched upon it during this where we were talking about, like mental illness and like that, if there are breakdowns in families, if a kid dies and like, how do you cope with that as a family afterwards, and all those things that happen, that can destroy a family. It's got all those things. I mean, I would love to find out what his family life was like. I would love to, you know what I mean? I would love to find out where, like, if this came from something or some fear. I think probably it's a fear of something, like of a breakdown, because mental breakdowns. I think mental breakdowns are one of the scariest things to me. Anyway, I'm terrified that that'll happen. I remember seeing Still Alice with Julianne Moore, the one where she gets early onset dementia. And she's jogging and she forgets where she's going. And it starts out like that, like real slow. And then you watch it slow. And I just said, this is my worst nightmare come true. Like, I can't, this movie is like, it's like, that is terrifying. Like that thought of losing your mind and realizing you're losing your mind, I was like, this is my worst nightmare. So I think that's kind of, even though this is supernatural, it kind of touches on that. On that idea.
I think it probably, and like you said, if they had just extracted the supernatural, it would be a movie about grief and mental illness.
Right.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah.
Even though he deals with her too, when he comes in and she's building the scene and painting the blood on the road, and he's like, Jesus Christ, what are you doing? She's like, it's like a normal reaction. It's just like
an outside or
she's saying it's like
outside narrative or something, or to the extent of like.
What if Peter? She asked, "What if Peter sees this?" And she said, "It's not about him. It's not. It's an outside narrative of what happened." It's like,
okay, yeah.
Also, what I found what was interesting is after, I don't know what happens before, but something big happens, and they get back to that to that vignette, and the head's gone.
Yeah.
I was like, oh God, where's the head? Where's the real head?
What's the head? Head on the staff? Is that her head?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. I couldn't tell.
Yeah, that's her head. Yeah. Because I guess they probably, the ants were on it and everything on the road, and they probably took it. Which is like,
Yep.
Yeah, I think exactly what you said is correct. I think after the head banging, the neck sawing, I checked out mentally to protect myself.
Yeah.
I was like, "You just too
Yeah.
much."
Yeah, because I wasn't upset. I just literally was like, I can't do this anymore. Like I'm done. Like I've seen way too much. I've taken in a lot of it. You know, I get overstimulated. Like I have an issue with like when I have too many choices. I have an issue. Like if I go to IKEA, you know, like I go to IKEA, I need to go in with a list of things I want because if I don't, I get I'm like, nope. I start to shut down. I'm like, nope. Too many choices, too many things to look at. And that was that movie. It was like, I remember feeling like I'm looking at too many things and they're all disturbing me. So I need to stop watching. I need to stop seeing them.
And I wonder now too, just reflecting on it and going back, especially because he's so selective with what he puts in every frame. It makes me wonder how many things are in there that we didn't see still. Because when they go back at the end, basically explaining like you got rid of your female body, everything's okay. We needed a male body that's what you're in now as a vessel. Like we're talking about the walnut chopping. Like how many different people in the scenes
Yeah.
were watching them? How many people were pulling strings? You know, you never know.
I know. I know. It's got a lot of layers to it. It really does. It's like it's a very I mean, he wrote a very complex, very disturbing film, you know. It's a really well done film. Like when I watch it again, I'm like it's I feel kind of like the way I do it. Like I keep comparing him to Kubrick because Kubrick and I have a very strained relationship because I have a hard time watching his stuff because they're like nightmares. They're like living. I mean, the only one that I don't is The Shining. That's the only one. But out of the like, but his other like Clockwork Orange and Full Metal Jacket and all his stuff, it all I remember feeling a very visceral reaction to all of them that I didn't like. That I felt sick by the end, and I was like, I don't want to watch this again. Like it was good, it was beautiful, but I don't ever want to see it again, you know. And but he's got it a little bit different. It's because he's painted this picture, and it's like you kind of want to pick out all the little things and see where he was going with it. And there's so many avenues it could take. There's like we talked about. There's so many different ways you could go, and who was watching, who was there, who's doing what, you know. Crazy.
I think after I watched Clockwork, I was like, I need to take a shower. I don't know why. After this one, I was like, I need to take a shower, but I can't because I'm too afraid.
I'm too afraid. Yeah, I'm too scared. Yeah, it's literally like, yep, no. All right, my friends. Well, thank you. This was a lot of fun. Did you have fun at least?
Yes.
It was good to watch it.
I won't have fun tonight when we try to sleep, but yeah.
I know. I'm gonna be like,
I'm gonna send you pictures of us with all the lights on the house.
I know. But at least we were together again, you know? All right. So thank you again, Laura and Alex. I appreciate it. And stay spooky, guys.